What's up, Foodie fam? And welcome back to What the Fuck, aka What the fuck can I do with that? Or what the fuck am I supposed to do with that? How did I forget my own show title? And today we're looking at episode 6. Episode 6 is episode 6. That means we're 6 fucking episodes in and we got 6 more to go. Today, though, we're going to be talking about seasonal recipes. You might have heard of it, you might see them, might you hear me being sarcastic. Seasonal recipes have always been the shit forever and ever, and they always will be as long as we have seasons. Every year around fall-ish, right after holidays. I mean, right after I want to say what I'm trying to get out is right after fucking Halloween. There is a barrage of fucking recipes that are going to be geared towards the holidays, whether that's Thanksgiving or Christmas. Either way, they can be used in a variety of different ways from now until the new year. And that's going to be everywhere. Like, literally, you're going to see it on your fucking daytime TV shows. I can't tell you how many times, especially during Rona, that I've sat on this at this fucking desk or couch and watched the news and see the same celebrity chef actually create the same recipe with a different ingredient this year. But that's what we're going to be talking about. We're going to be talking about looking at all of the tradition, maybe some new traditions, your versions of it, my versions of it, and why we love it. So this episode is going to be all about seasonal recipes. So let's dive into what seasonal recipes are. I think they vary. I mean, literally, they can vary from culture to culture, to person to family. But seasonal recipes are genuinely recipes that are traditionally made during the coldest months where you want to feel the warmest. Those moments where you're with family and friends, or if you're just with people you love or care about, or just random ass strangers at a restaurant. Those meals are significant to how you feel and they represent the holidays, quite honestly. And you can eat them, like I said, anytime from after Halloween all the way up and through the new year. And most of us will do that shit. If you haven't caught the episode on meal prepping, take a look at that. I mean, it doesn't really go into diving into what you can do with the leftovers from the holidays or seasonal recipes, but it gives you an idea of, like thinking forward to like how you can actually take this shit and, mix it with some other shit and make something else happen. But anyway, for me, seasonal recipes is soul food. It really, really, truly always will be. Soul food will be my first love, although Italian is my favorite. Soul food will more than likely be my first love forever, specifically because I grew up on that. I mean, fried chicken, especially wings. I am a fucking nut for wings. But fried chicken, some greens, mac and cheese, green beans and potatoes, black eyed peas. I mean, you name it. There's a variety of different things you can eat, and that are all. I mean, 99% of it is delicious, except fucking chitlins. Fight me. I don't give a fuck. Chitlins are disgusting. I don't understand why people eat that. Chitlins and fucking like pig's feet. I understand you don't necessarily eat it. You use it like like a almost like a bone for bone broths or stock or something like that. But chitlins are fucking disgusting, and shame on you for eating it. But anyway, back to the things that I love. I think that tradition really speaks volumes to it because the seasonal recipes remind us of family and of home and of comfort, and we all love comfort, and I think that's why it's so amazing. Why this seasonal shit is so amazing. The only drawback is that this shit is heavy, man. It's always heavy, and then again, this varies culture to culture. But for me, seasonal shit is soul food, and soul food can be heavy. So usually, seasonal shit is also kind of like I want to say associated with fucking food comas. Like literally, there have been times in the past where I would eat a fucking plate of food, or well, sorry, let me start at the beginning. You don't eat the day of, I mean, the day before, basically. You fast your fucking self until you know that food is gonna be ready. Specifically because in soul food seasonal tradition, some of that shit is made a couple hours in advance, if not a day in advance. So you are fasting because it's going to be ready at noon, if not 10:30 a.m. that day of whatever day you're eating. And so then you eat that, you watch some games, you play with the family, you talk about things, you get drunk, and then you take a nap. That's the coma part. And then you wake up and you eat that shit again. And then you continue to eat that shit for the next couple days because it is so good, but because it's so heavy, it does weigh us down. It makes us so tired. But I'm telling you right now, it's worth it. If you never had a plate of soul food at Thanksgiving time, you are fucking missing out, and you need to get on that shit. But let's talk about a couple things that I love, which is the recipes. So seasonal actual recipes. What would my plate look like? What would I make? What have I made for Thanksgiving? Let's talk about that now. So I like to switch it up actually between Thanksgiving and Christmas. Try new things, and as I grew into my cooking journey, which if you caught episode one, if you haven't, check it out. But if you caught episode one, you know there's been elevations in my life that changed my cooking and the way I cook and what I eat. But I love a good old traditional Thanksgiving dinner with a variety of different things, right? So my main thing is not actually a turkey. I find turkey to be a bit dry. I'm not a huge fan of it. However, I will tell you, I've made some bomb ass fucking turkey quesadillas because we had a whole leftover turkey, and then some turkey sandwiches and all of that shit. But generally, I lean towards a good ham, like a spiral ham, honey ham, something like that. And then also like something unique. I always want to incorporate a different protein that's unique. And in my life now, that's a variety of different things because not only is Babe vegetarian, but I have friends who are pescatarian and so on and so forth. And so on and so forth. Let's edit out that last piece. And so on and so forth. That said, we have tofurkey sometimes, or we will have just a shit ton of mushrooms and veggies and stuff like that. And then for the meat eaters like me, because I'm a fucking carnivore, I love a roast or a prime rib or something like that or whatever. So I've done these throughout the years. But the staples for me is my mom's cornmeal cornbread. Cornmeal stuffing. That's what it was. And some cornbread, though. Cornmeal cornbread works too. But I like cornmeal stuffing, specifically at Thanksgiving. It's so fucking delicious. The way it happens, I think it's like, obviously your celery, your onions, bell peppers, and things. And then you get your eggs and your cornmeal and your milk and things like that, whatever. It's a whole ordeal. I'll put a recipe up for that later. But love that. And then gotta have some greens. Gotta have some greens. Little bit of a fun fact for you guys. I make some bomb ass fucking greens. And my greens are vegetarian because obviously I mentioned the aforementioned people in my life who are vegetarian. But I started testing out this recipe for my greens probably maybe 4 or 5 years ago when I started doing catering brunches back in Seattle. And I got rave reviews from a bunch of different people who actually truly enjoy them. So I pride myself on these greens, and it doesn't take me fucking like a whole day to make them. Now, yes, I can make them the traditional way with the ham hocks and everything, and cook them overnight and slow and low. But the way that I actually make them is a little bit quick. It's less than 30 minutes. It has all the flavor, all the spice, and it still has a bite to it. So that's one of my favorite things. Lastly, I like to actually put in mac and cheese. It's a staple, and I actually got this recipe that I've iterated on for years from Paula Dean. Her recipe is called Ladies Mac and Cheese. I'm gonna call mine Gays Mac and Cheese because I like to put in a lot of heavy shit in there. And who doesn't love a heavy bottom? I mean, seriously, if you eat all the shit that I put into my mac and cheese, you gonna have a fat ass. No, seriously. But anyway, I want to transition a bit. Let's talk about more than just the seasonal recipes and kind of where they come from. So I mentioned for me, seasonal recipes are always going to be like soul food. That's what I grew up on. That's comforting. That's home. But it's going to be different for everybody. Everyone has a different version of it. I just randomly off the top of my head, I think of German potato salad. So I know there's a difference. All us black people, all us fucking black people know we don't eat everybody's potato salad. However, there's a difference in kind of how we make ours versus another culture. And German potato salad is using red roasted potatoes, some mayos, I think sometimes chives if I'm not mistaken. But there's a variety of different ways to do it, and I actually fucking loved it. And I don't know if it's a seasonal one, but it's something that I could use as a tweak on a seasonal one from another culture. And that's kind of what I'm getting at. Like there's different ways that different people make seasonal recipes that are true and near and dear to their heart that reminds them of the seasons. That's where I really want to get at. So I said seasonal recipes a million times in this fucking episode already. What I really want to do is go back and actually just say seasonal recipes are generally supposed to be things that are in season, easier to find, and have over time become things that we've all just made staples as a part of our culture, that we make at the end of the fucking, the holiday seasons. Now, don't bite my head off. I know there are some cultures that aren't really cultures. Some people ain't got culture. But just things that remind us of home is what I'm trying to get at. Traditionally, in American civilization, the version that not all of us are fans of, it's turkey, it's corn on the cob, it's mashed potatoes, it's things like that. It's supposed to be, quite honestly, it was picturized as this wholesome ass version of shit. It could be totally different for Spanish people who don't necessarily celebrate Thanksgiving, or Indian people who are living in America but don't celebrate Thanksgiving, but do want to observe the holiday in their own way with different cultures and things like that. If I haven't said it already, I fucking love naan. Naan is amazing. And if you don't know what naan is, Google it. Naan. It's a bread, like pita type bread, and it's made a very specific way, and it's so fucking delicious. But either way, I'm trying to get at the idea that there are a million different ways to make seasonal recipes. It literally, as I look at my Mac right now, I Googled it like 5 minutes before I started recording this. And bonappetit.com, 72 Thanksgiving recipes, delish.com, 100 plus best Thanksgiving recipes, and so on and so forth. So, as I mentioned, there's a million ways to make a million different seasonal recipes. And I'm just curious, what is yours? What are yours? Like, send me an email, leave a comment wherever it is. Hit up the podcast website, What the Fuck Podcast, on Instagram, and let me know before Thanksgiving, what are your seasonal recipes? Maybe I'll cook something. Maybe I'll cook it and ship it to you. Because one thing I haven't talked about a lot recently is that while I have done catering, I haven't been cooking a lot for people, and I kind of miss it. Kind of miss making shit and people enjoying it. Right now, it's just friends, bae, family, the dogs occasionally. But I'm looking forward to getting back out there in 2021 and like actually doing some pop ups and cooking for people. But for now, back it up. If you leave a comment on What the Fuck Podcast telling me what your favorite seasonal recipe is, I just may cook it for you and ship it out to you. Let me know. Like I said before, there's a bunch of different ways to make shit. So new seasonal ways or new spins on seasonal traditions. So one for me, I think I would go back to something I made a couple years ago when I was first moving to Seattle and first venturing into this space of cooking more. I made lamb instead of turkey. So that was a twist for me because we had traditionally only always eaten turkey for Thanksgiving. And my mom makes a bomb ass turkey. We're going to talk about her food in a minute, by the way. But my mom makes a bomb ass turkey, and I really just wanted to try something different. I was in a new city. I was with like new people, new friends, and so I made some lamb, and it came out great, like a leg of lamb, a rack of lamb. It was good. It was super super delicious. A bit gamey, but I enjoyed the variation of flavor, especially having always eaten chicken or beef or pork most of the time. The lamb was delicious as fuck. It just was hearty, and it wasn't too heavy, and that was probably my first experimentation with that. And I know a lot of other people do different variations. If you haven't and you want to try doing a different variation for a seasonal recipe, I say start small. Start with something like a side dish. Again, Googling, you can make sweet potatoes a million different ways. Like, I prefer a good yam. Give me a good saucy, sweet, savory yam, nice and mashed like mashed potatoes, or you can do them diced and just like slow cooked and whatnot, and throw them on a plate. But there's a bunch of different ways that you can actually do them stuffed. You can do them more savory than sweet. You can do loaded. You can do a bacon version, a fall harvest version, or a curry spice version of sweet potatoes. But try something out small, like a sweet potato, or maybe even maybe a side salad, some green beans. Test that out with something that you love and play around with flavors and figure out if you can make a new seasonal trend or a new take on something you grew up with that maybe can make something a new tradition for you going forward. But don't fuck with the mac and cheese though. Don't don't fuck with the mac and cheese. All right. So now that we wrap that up, let's talk about the next topic. One of my favorite topics. One of my favorite things to talk about. What the fuck I'm obsessed with this week. It changes every week. There's always something new. There's always something great about food to be obsessed with. And there's always something I'm going to be obsessed with because I always like trying new shit. However, the caveat for this one This is something I've been obsessed with for fucking ever. It's none other than the most amazing motherfucking sweet potato pie. That is what I'm obsessed with this week. I know a lot of people like different varieties of pie at the holidays or kinds of pies at the holidays. Some like pecan or pecan, some like pumpkin pie, others like, I don't know, like an almond cake or something. I love sweet potato pies. And not just anybody's sweet potato pie. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'll try store bought, your uncles, your aunties, your cousins, but my mama's is the best sweet potato pie. I don't care what nobody say. Fight me, bitch. My mama's pies are so good that there was a point in time where I actually eat three of them motherfuckers. Like literally sit down and eat three of them within the span of 24 hours. Now that I'm older, watching my weight, watching my sugars and shit, and now, maybe once in a couple days, or maybe two in a week or something, only on the holidays. And I love to wash it down with another one of my favorites we won't get into too much, but a glass of eggnog, some sweet potato pie, vanilla ice cream, I'm in fucking heaven. That is my obsession. And now that we're going into, the holidays, now that like literally by the time this episode comes out, we should be right up against the fucking holidays. That this comes back around. It's in stores all the time. It's everyone's making it or thinking about making some version of it. And so this week it has become my obsession. That said, I want to talk a little bit about the difference between sweet potato pies and pumpkin pies and tradition and things of that nature. Now, I won't get too deep into this because I'm not an expert by any means on pies per se. I'm more of a savory person than I am sweet. But there is a strong tradition of people of color actually making sweet potato pies versus pumpkin pies. Every time I think about a pumpkin pie, it's usually traditionally used with Americanized families or as a staple for a magazine cover or something like that. And I think it has something to do with the action behind it, obviously like jack-o'-lanterns and things like that around Halloween and being able to go and have a variety of different pumpkins and squash and using those things to make pies. But at the same time, same thing conversely for people of color who may have had access to different resources like sweet potatoes that are starchy, that last long, and then when doctored up properly can taste just as sweet as an apple pie. So I love that in a traditional sense that it is still amazing regardless of what you put in it. And because it's such a healthy kind of item, even though we make it less healthy with all the shit we put in it. But it's a staple in just cuisine that you can use a sweet potato in a million different ways, and one of which is turning that motherfucker into a pie. Lastly, I want to talk about something I know we're all thinking about: patty pies. A couple years ago, it was all the rage. Everybody fucking wanted a patty pie, and don't get me wrong, I love patty. I'm down here for some patty pie, some Aretha's Green, some Kelly Price cornbread. I'm down for it all. However, patty pies taste just like every other pie to me. It's a store bought pie, and nothing compares to me. Like I just said 2 minutes ago, nothing compares to my mama's pie to me, or a homemade pie for that matter. And while I do love patty and I support the patty pies, I can't do much with that. Other than, yeah, I'll take a slice here and there, but it's not decadent enough and delicious enough that I want to eat it within a rapid amount of time. So, patty pies versus homemade pies. I say pick up a patty pie if you're on your way or you're dropping it off at your cousin's house you don't too much care for, or you're going to a coworker function. Patty pies are perfect for that. But you want that real food coma kind of food, make it yourself. I mean, it's pretty easy. You just Google it. You can find a million recipes on the internet to like come up with your own version as well. But yeah, just make yourself a patty pie. You don't have to go out and buy one. All right, we come to the end. This is the last you're going to hear me talk for this episode. And we have to finish it up with one of my other favorite parts of this episode, with parts of the show, which hopefully you love too, which is the what the fuck feature item of the week. You know what it is. We're just going to talk about something random that you can just use to make whatever with at your house. And this one is actually going to be one I pre-selected because I think it is amazing and can go well with anything. Yes, this week we are talking about none other than our friend decadent ass margarine. Not butter, but margarine. So, Think back to your earliest memory of eating food. Butter almost went on everything, whether it was your toast or whether it was part of the cooking agent you used to actually sear your meats or your veggies or something like that, or even if you just put it in your broccoli and cheese or something like that. But I want to talk about margarine specifically. Now, I love the richness of butter. I love the taste of butter. And for the life of me, I can never not have some things without it, like a good biscuit, especially like a Pillsbury biscuit, something fluffy and light. Margarine has its place in the world too. Margarine is super easy to get, find at a grocery store. It's super cost effective. Like I can go and get like a 4 pack of margarine for like $2 or something like that, or depending on where you are. And it still gives you the same flavors, the same consistency, same taste as butter to a certain extent. And that's what we're about, taking that random shit that you might get. You might not have a full block of butter or a giant tub of butter, or may not have access to Whole Foods for the fancy shit, but you can take that margarine and you can make everything with it. One of my favorite things to make is always a sauce, like a butter sauce for maybe my salmon, like a lemon butter garlic sauce for my salmon. Or if I'm doing Cajun food, which I know you've heard me talk about before, that fucking delicious ass garlic dip. That buttery garlic dip you get from like the crab boil places. That ain't nothing but some Cajun seasoning, Old Bay seasoning, a little salt and pepper, some garlic, some herbs. You mix that shit up, melt it down, and you have a delicious fucking spread for whatever you want to put it on. You can even use it to make garlic bread. There's a variety of different ways to use butter, but for this purpose, for these purposes, we're talking about margarine and using margarine as a substitute. So I just wanted to highlight that you can use margarine for the exact same reasons you use butter for half the price, or same use cases you use butter for half, if not cheaper, of the price, and a little bit of a healthy quality to it. All right, guys, that is it. We've wrapped it. This week has been a long one, but I'm looking forward to all this soul food shit we've been talking about. The next couple episodes are going to be focused on holiday foods and new recipes and things like that. So make sure you take your ass over to my site, ginroecooks.com, GINROECOOKS.com. Sign up for the newsletter. I send shit out all the time. And don't forget to tell your friends about the What the Fuck podcast. I'm sure somebody can learn something from it. So thanks again for checking it out. Tune in next week, Thursday at 10 a.m., I think, 10 or 11 a.m. And be sure to shout us out on Instagram. Follow us on Instagram, Gin Roe Cooks, What the Fuck Podcast on Instagram. And let me know your thoughts. Again, as always, leave comments, shoot me an email, ginroecooks@gmail.com. And let's chat about this shit. Tell me your favorite food shit. Peace.
It's only entertainment.